Hello valued viewers. In today's video, we delve into 7 intriguing life stories while also honing our English listening skills. But before we embark on this journey, I kindly ask you to subscribe to my channel to show your support. Let's dive in.
Story 1, Peace.
A king offered a reward to the artist who could paint the most beautiful picture of peace. Many artists tried their best to paint. The king looked at all the paintings but only liked 2 and he had to choose one. A painting of a quiet lake. The lake is a beautiful mirror because it is surrounded by towering mountains. Above the leaves, the sky is blue with fluffy white clouds. Everyone who saw the painting thought it was a perfect picture of peace. The other picture also has mountains, but these mountains are bare and jagged with rocks. Above was an angry sky pouring rain with lightning and thunder. Pouring down the cliff is a waterfall with white foam. This picture doesn't look peaceful at all, but when the king looked, he saw that behind the waterfall was a small bush, growing from a crack in a rock. In the bush, a mother bird is building a nest. There, in the middle of an angry waterfall, the mother bird was peacefully perched on her nest. Truly peaceful. I grade this picture. The king announced, peace does not mean a place without noise, without difficulty, without hardship. Peace means righteousness. Even in the midst of storms, we still feel the calmness in our hearts. That is the true meaning of peace. Story 2, Simple Happiness. If you wake up in the morning and find that you are still healthy and that a serious illness has not yet come to you, you are luckier than hundreds of thousands of other people who may die in a hospital bed or in a sudden accident today. If you have never suffered from stray bullets, the humiliation of prisons, the suffering of torture or starvation, you are not part of the 500 million people currently suffering like that in this world. If you still have a roof over your head to cover the rain and sun and a place to rest today, you are a more complete person than many other people in the world. If you have money in the bank, money for daily expenses, you are in the 8% of the world's wealthy. If your parents are still living with you, you are the luckiest person in this world. If you hold your head high with a smile on your lips and know how to express gratitude, boldly show love, know how to listen and dare to say sorry, you are a happy person because most people have this to be able to do so but they don't. If you can still cry, know how to sympathize with people, simply clasp hands to express emotions, give encouraging eyes, put your hand on a shoulder and share silently, you are a human being. Lucky to own the most magical remedy. And you will realize the meaning of life. Know how to cherish and appreciate what you have. Story 3, I can still sleep when it's stormy. A young man applied to work as a helper on a farm. When the owner asked him what he could do, he said, I can still sleep when it's stormy. This somewhat confusing answer confused the farmer, but because he had feelings for the young man, he accepted him. A few days later, the owner and his wife suddenly woke up in the middle of the night because of a huge tornado. They quickly checked everything in the house, and saw that the doors were tightly closed, the farm tools were neatly stored in the barn, the tractor had been put in the garage, and the barn was carefully locked. Even the animals were full, and showed no fear. Everything was safe and the boy was still sleeping soundly. Now the owner understands what the young man said before, I can still sleep when it's stormy. Because he has always done his work in a planned way, he does not need to worry about anything and can still avoid incidents when the storm hits. If we do everything well in the present, we can be completely assured and believe in the future. Story 4, The Lucky Coin. One cold winter morning in 1956, on the train, there was a family leaving their poor land to go to the strange American city of Brooklyn. David, a 13-year-old boy, crouched fearfully in his mother's arms as the train went through curves. They knew there were countless difficulties ahead, but they still maintained hope for the future. After getting used to the feeling of wobbling on the train, David pressed his face against the train window and looked in surprise at the skyscrapers and the continuous lines of traffic. At that moment, an elderly man interrupted the boy's gaze with a friendly greeting. He sat opposite David in the same train car, wearing a thick coat and fur hat, looking very luxurious. David observed his every friendly gesture, especially his warm eyes and smile when looking at David. The man asked David's father, "Are you new to this country?" David's father nodded in response. The man spoke loudly as if he wanted David to hear his conversation with his parents. "In the late 19th century, when I came to America, I was just as old as this boy." He looked at David and continued, "Then, I got on a bus and met an older man. He said that he also immigrated to America when he was a child, and at that time he was penniless." Having finished speaking, he took out a coin and placed it in his hand. He said, "This coin has brought luck to my life. Now I give it to you, and hope that it will bring you as much luck as it brought me." Having said that, the man immediately leaned closer to David and took out a coin from his pocket, then said, "This coin, son. It really brought us a lot of luck and success. I want you to take it, and wish you good luck when you come to this city."
He opened David's palm, and placed the silver coin in it. David held the coin tightly in his hand for a long time. The next day, David looked at the coin in the sunlight through the window. The boy squinted his eyes to see the coin more clearly.
"This is not an ordinary coin. It was produced in the 19th century, but is still new and shiny. 40 years have passed since the day David met the strange man on that train. The small and scared immigrant boy has become a successful, happy man. He and his wife raised 4 adult children. His children are married and have a pretty good life. When he sees his grandchildren living a prosperous life, much better than the life he experienced as a child, he remembers the lucky coin of the past. David always keeps that coin with him. He often confides to his wife, "One day, if I come across a little boy hiding in fear in his mother's arms because he has to live among people he doesn't know in a strange country, I will encourage him that the life ahead will be better."
Brings lots of fun and interesting discoveries. That if he has faith and tries his best, this place will bring him a prosperous and successful life. This was the meaning that the coin and the nameless old man's encouraging words had passed on to the man before him, and then were passed on to him. And he will pass it on to a certain boy.
5. The Last Runner. The highest reward for a person's hard work is not what he receives, but how he feels he has grown. John Ruskin. The annual marathon in my city usually takes place in the summer. My job was to sit in the ambulance, following the athletes, in case anyone needed medical attention. The driver and I stood ready in the car, behind hundreds of people, waiting for the command gun to ring. "We'll be following the last runner, so drive slowly," I said to the driver, Doug, as the car started rolling forward. "Hope the last person will run fast," he joked. As the group accelerated, the first group of runners gradually passed ahead. It was then that the image of a woman wearing blue shorts and a baggy t-shirt caught my eye. "Doug, look." We knew we had identified the last one. Her feet kept coming together, but her knees kept going out. Her handicapped legs seemed like she couldn't walk, let alone run. Doug and I quietly watched her slowly advance. No one said a word. We kept moving up little by little and then stopped to wait for her. Watching her struggle to put one foot in front of the other, I suddenly breathed for her, then cheered for her to move forward. I half wanted her to stop and half wished she would continue. In the end, she was the only one still in sight. I sat on the edge of my chair, watching, with a mixture of fear, excitement and reverence, the woman still persistently moving forward, determined to overcome the final miles. The finish line appeared. People booed loudly on both sides of the road. Behold, a man standing straight and proud, was waiting. He held one end of a crepe paper ribbon, and tied the other end to a pole. She slowly walked forward, crossed, and ripped off both ends of the rope, letting it flutter behind her like wings. I don't know that woman's name, but from that day on she became a part of my life's memories, and I depend a lot on this part of my life. For how? The important thing is not to beat other runners or win prizes, it's about trying to complete the race no matter how hard it takes.
Every time I encounter a situation that is too difficult, too time-consuming, or seems impossible, I think of the last runner. Immediately after that, everything becomes easy for me. Story 6, Bills. Peter is the son of a department store owner at the top of the street. He often goes to his mother's store to play. Every day the store has many bills to pay or collects money that needs to be paid or delivered to customers. Peter's mother often assigned him the task of bringing those bills to the post office.
Gradually these things made him feel as if he had become a small businessman. One day Peter thought, I also wrote an invoice to send to my mother, clearly stating the amounts she had to pay me for what I helped her every day. The next morning his mother received the invoice clearly stating, you need to pay your son Peter the following: transporting items home, $2. Bring a letter to the post office, $1. Helping adults clean up the flower garden, $2. All week I obediently obeyed, $1. Total, $6. Peter's mother didn't say anything. At dinner, Peter discovered $6 under his tray. He was very happy. When he was about to put the money in his pocket he saw another receipt attached. The recipient was him. He was very surprised. Peter needs to pay his mother the following. Live 10 years in your mother's happy house, $0. Expenses for living, eating, and studying for 10 years, $0. The amount of money that I take care of Peter when he is sick, $0. Since then, Peter has always had a loving and caring mother, $0. Total, $0.
Peter read the bill over and over again, his face red with regret. A moment later, he came to his mother and snuggled into her arms, gently putting $6 into her pocket. Story 7, The Value of Life.
There is a student who often asks his teacher, Teacher, what is the value of life? One day, the teacher took a stone and gave it to the student and instructed, you take this stone to the market but don't sell it, just pay attention to see how much people pay for it. Why do you have to do that, teacher? The student wondered. The teacher smiled and replied, if you want to know what the value of life is, do as I tell you. Obeying the teacher, the student brought the stone to the market to sell. People didn't understand why he sold such an ugly stone. Sitting all day, a merciful peddler came to ask and offered the stone $1. The student remembered his teacher's advice, even if anyone asks to buy it, he must not sell it. He brought the stone back and lamented, no one wants to buy this ugly stone. Luckily, someone asked to buy it for $1. The teacher smiled and said, very good. Tomorrow you bring the stone into the gold shop and sell it to the shop owner. Remember that even if the gold shop owner buys it, you cannot sell it. The next day, the student brought it back to the place where gold was sold, and surprisingly, the shop owner paid $500 for the stone. Very surprised because the stone from where no one bought it now has a high price. Remembering what the teacher said, he still did not sell, and brought the stone back. He eagerly asked why that was so. His teacher smiled and said, "Take it to the antique shop tomorrow, but absolutely don't sell it, just ask the price." The next day, the student followed the teacher's instructions. After a while of consideration, he was extremely surprised when the shop owner offered the entire fortune for the stone. He was still determined not to sell and quickly returned to tell his teacher. At this time, the teacher slowly said, "The stone is actually a precious antique, worth a fortune, and the value of life is the same as that stone. Some people understand and some do not understand. To those who do not understand and cannot feel, the value of life is not worth a penny. But to those who understand, it is worth a fortune. The stone is the same, life is the same. The only thing that makes a difference is your understanding and the way you perceive life." We often question the value of everything around us. From the value of inanimate objects to the value of the work we are doing, the value of the people around us to the value of our own lives. The story is a metaphor that shows us, in many cases, the value of something lies hidden behind what our eyes can see. The value of something cannot be hastily judged, concluded, if not put them in different situations, different perspectives.
And the value of life for each person is also a different choice. Each person has a different way of valuing success or happiness. Please respect each person's choice and make your life valuable in your own way.